Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. And my guest today is author, poet, um, Sherman Alexie, film writer, producer, lots of different hats. And you're tied to comics as you were kind enough to have Ellen Forney add illustrations to the absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian. Um, which is what made me reach out. I reread that book with my students in the fall, and I was listening actually specifically to the podcast part that you did at the end of the audio version while I was driving out to Cartoons Crossroads in Columbus last October, and I went, oh, I should see if I can find Sherman Alexie's email address and email him. And I did. And when I hadn't heard back in a couple of weeks, I went, oh, well, oh, well. And then I heard back in March, and now we're talking. Good afternoon, Sherman. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing all right. The,
Okay.
the sun was shining in Seattle yesterday. I haven't looked outside yet today, so I don't know.
Wow. I have actually at this point both my cousin and my brother live in Seattle, but the last time I was there was for my cousin's wedding, like God, probably 12 or 13 years ago. And um, when we took the duck tour on our last morning there, the tour guide told us that it was the first time in 20 years that there'd been 3 days without rain.
Yeah, and I
But,
mean it rains more quantity wise in a city like Atlanta,
right,
but
right, right,
but it's just always gray. Tom
right.
Robbins, the writer, has had the perfect description of Seattle. It wasn't really raining, but everything was wet.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
From what
it's
I hear.
it's
I
the
mean,
absence of sun that's the
I
killer.
got 3 days of sun in Seattle.
Yeah. People get fooled that they move here. They get fooled. They come here in August and they think that's what we live like.
Right.
I
Um,
was Native American when I moved to Seattle 25 years ago. Now I'm Swedish.
and you're Swedish.
Lack of sun has turned me Swedish.
See, this is why I enjoy your 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 writing more than anything is its sense of humor. And it now turns out that you can do that on the spot. Um, it's a comic book podcast, so I need to start with the inclusion of comics in absolutely true Diary of a Part-Time Indian. When you give me long titles, it's harder to remember them, Sherman.
Yes.
Um, uh, First, for the handful of listeners that haven't read the book, um, hi mom, hi John, and actually I know that my mom has put the book on hold at the library that she works at, so she'll probably read it soon.
Okay, that's
Um,
good.
and for that matter, I mean, just minor backstory here. And I was recently reminded of it as I was ordering one of your newer books. My very first Amazon purchase, way back when Amazon was just a bookstore,
Uh-huh.
was the Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven that I got for my mom for a college class that she was in the year
Oh,
it came out. So it was on the North Central curriculum like almost immediately.
oh my gosh, years and decades ago.
And
So,
then we read it together.
you know how
So
much I know
so
of a comic book guy you are? Because you
huh.
said lone wolf first.
Yeah, I started Lone Wolf and Cub mean way more to me than Lone Ranger. Though my buddy Mark Russell, who's from Spokane,
Yeah.
did write a run on Lone Ranger. So I mean,
Oh, there you go. All right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, when lone wolf is the first thing in your head after when
it
wolf is the
is.
first word in your head after lone.
It is. Lone Wolf and Cub is a masterpiece. And
Yes,
I
yes,
now know that you're a comic guy because you knew that.
yes. Yeah,
So,
I mean I am a comic guy, lifetime from birth. In fact
well, we'll
my
get into that
yeah.
next. But tell me about Part-Time Indian. And tell me about the decision to use comics, because I know what it means to a bunch of rich white special needs students that you use comics. But but
Excuse me. Well, well, being a lifetime comics fan, and at the beginning it was superhero comics.
okay.
That was all we had access to in a sense. I knew nothing about alternative comics. I
Well,
had
I mean, when you were probably starting to read comics, the alternative comics were only available in head shops.
Yes, and yeah, they didn't have R. Crumb in
Right.
the comic book
Right.
stores in Spokane, Washington.
Right.
So, I mean, he was somewhere in Spokane, Washington, but he
Yes.
wasn't in the comic book stores I frequented.
I'm actually I'm friends with Dennis Kitchen, and he talks about um, how in some ways they did way better than some of the other comics because there were more head shops than there were comic shops.
There were plenty of those, yes.
And he could, once he figured out where they all were and set up his distribution network, he could sell like 10 to 20 copies of almost anything he published to like 4,000 stores.
There you go. Smart. Find your audience.
Right.
So, uh, and so I drew. I mean, I still draw a little bit. I'm a decent comic book artist if you give me weeks to draw one thing.
Okay.
So, uh,
That's better than me.
yeah.
I need
So,
months to draw one thing.
and I can copy well. It,
Copying well is, I mean, Neil Adams was in favor of copying
yeah, I can't
as
originate.
long as it wasn't his stuff.
Yeah, I can't originate a cartoon, but I
Right.
can replicate a cartoon decently. Like I'm
Right.
a B minus replicator.
B minus. I'm a solid C, but I married an art teacher, so
Oh, there you go. So, and the book is autobiographical.
Right.
So when I started writing it, I knew when I started conceiving of it, well, the origins of it. For years, there was a children's book editor, a young adult book editor, who would call me up and ask me, "Where's my young adult novel?" She was a fan of my work for adults, so she wanted a
Right.
novel for teenagers, and I never had it. I never had an idea. And then one year, 2006 or something, I was working on a memoir about my family's history with war. And I wrote a chapter about the year I left the reservation school for the farm town high school on the border, where I became the only Indian except for the school mascot. And I wrote that chapter, but it didn't fit a memoir about my family's history with war and service in
Right.
war. So I set it aside. I printed it out. I set it aside. And right after I printed it and set it on the desk, right at that moment, that editor called and she said, "So where's my young adult novel?" And I looked over and
And
I
you looked
saw the
down and you
chapter
said, I got the first chapter.
and I said, "Yeah, really." I said, "I have it." And then I proceeded to write it. And because it was autobiographical, it was the fictional version of my first year at that school. I knew it would include parts of me. And one of those parts was, of course, comic books. The love of comic books was going to be in it. But for reasons I do not understand, when I wrote the first paragraph, when I sat down to write the book, in the first paragraph, I made him a graphic artist. I
I
made
love
him
it.
a cartoonist. And I don't know why. I cannot tell you why. What alchemy happened in my brain that made me make my avatar a cartoonist.
Right.
And I had just met, not too long before that, she was at that time dating a mutual friend, Ellen Forney, and I met her through him. And she's awesome,
She
funny,
is.
smart, and I mean, she's brilliant, a brilliant
I
person, and a
mean,
brilliant artist.
this
And
is where I pulled up her page to make certain that I would also plug Marbles, Mania, Depression, Michelangelo, and Me,
yes,
and Rocksteady, Brilliant Advice from My Bipolar Life, both by Ellen Forney.
yes,
After her time with you, she also did some fantastic undergroundish stuff before then that I'm certain I'll plug at some
yep.
point, but I don't want
Before
to
and
interrupt you
since,
too much.
I highly recommend Ellen Forney's work.
Oh,
And
I
and
am as big of a fan of hers as you, and
for
I'm a big fan of yours.
for some reason, I instantly thought Ellen is the one. Now I could have illustrated it, but it would have taken me it would have been a lifetime of work to try to do it. And
It would just be getting published right now.
yes, exactly. I mean, what it comes down to is, hire the best you can.
Right,
And
right.
I'm far from that.
Right,
Uh, and I thought, Ellen. So I sent her the first paragraph and I said, draw something.
right.
And the paragraph had talked about feeling like his brain was floating in an aquarium while fish stared at it. That was the word.
That's
And then
right.
she drew a fish being shocked by a brain floating in an aquarium.
That's
And the
it.
expression, and it's in the book. I mean, the very
Yes, it
first thing she
is.
ever
It
drew
is.
is in the
I
book.
knew exactly what you were
And the
describing when you.
expression on that fish's face was so perfect. And I thought, okay, you're hired. And so that all happened in the course of about an hour.
Right.
That he became a cartoonist, and then Ellen became the person I was going to work with. And
That's
and it was instantly fruitful. And the way it ended up working is I dictated about the first third of the comics. I would say, well, here, draw this. And she would
right.
draw it. And then that became, as she got to know the character more and more, it became more collaborative. Like she would bring me ideas, I would bring her ideas, I would edit something she had drawn. And then the last third or so, she was coming on her own with stuff that, so one of my favorites is the cover of the romance novel that the big sister is writing, Burning Love.
Yes.
So
Yes.
she drew the comic of a fictional romance novel, and
Right.
she brought that to me, and I laughed and laughed. It was so great. And one of the things I'm grateful to is she brought in the idea while we're collaborating more. She brought in the idea of, well, we should turn some of your narratives here into comic strips.
Right.
So one in particular where Junior is explaining all the strategies and excuses and ways he hid his poverty from his friends, and she turned all the things he was doing into a comic strip, which
That
was
was
which was incredible. So it was a really amazing process to work that to to dictate, then collaborate, then to just sit back and be the audience for Ellen's work
right.
was
Right.
great. And of course, the book is not the same book without her work. So
No, it makes it incredibly powerful. One of the things I like about my school is we tend to be um, at least try to be progressive. We have our students read a lot of books from different voices. Um, Enough so that I've heard things in classrooms that I won't repeat because it sometimes makes me want to like scream at the students.
ah, it's
But but when I was trying to figure out how I wanted to go about starting talking about this, and I was having trouble, but I was listening to You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, and I came to a part where you were talking about Reardon and how how weird it is that you were popular as a high school student, but they're all Trump supporters now, and that there was that disconnect. But specifically, you wrote about um, in being friends with. I'm just going to quote here because your words are better than mine at the end of the school day. Um, they're probably better than mine all the time, but they're definitely better than mine at the end of the school day. In being friends with white people, I've always had to live entirely inside their circle of experience, inside their white world. And my white friends have rarely, if ever, spent even a moment in my indigenous world. Um, and what comics do that isn't is sometimes missed in prose that's just prose is that they don't allow you to make the wrong picture in your head. Um, I think that sometimes I think when reading things like Part-Time Indian, when reading things like you don't say you don't have to say you love me when reading about the Lone Ranger and Tonto fist fighting in heaven. Um, it is both incredibly important to see you as a Native American writer and to just see you as a human writer. They have to get the full power. If you've written elsewhere about, you know, how offensive it is to say, "Oh, what makes this Native American?" or to say, "Oh, I don't think of you as an Indian. I just think of," and both of those things, and I say this as a relatively affluent white man who grew up more affluent than he is now. So, like, if I'm full of shit, call me out on it. um, but like to even begin to understand, one has to be able to both see how you are alike or a character is alike and see how their experiences are different. Um, And I think sometimes when I see, and don't get me wrong, I mean, we read some great books. We read Nick Stone's Dear Martin. We read um, who wrote House on Mango Street?
Sandra Cisneros.
Sandra Cisneros' House on Mango Street. Um, but what I sometimes see with the kids with those books is like the parts that they relate to a lot. And the parts that they don't relate to, it's like, why are they complaining about this? Whereas with Part-Time Indian, when I see the kids reading it, the parts that they relate to are what they gravitate to and are most comfortable talking about. They'd way rather talk about just the human relationship between Junior and Rowdy and playing basketball and whatnot. But they feel the other parts and they understand how it's different and they don't think, oh, they're just trying to make me feel this. It's like, oh, this is a person that's a lot like me, except when they're really not. Does this make any sense?
That is no, that is a very accurate way to describe that, I think. That relationship with and in terms of author strategies, I mean, not that I'm ever going to be that conscious of
Right.
what I'm trying to
Well,
do
and I think to
with
a
the
certain
book,
extent, the
but
authors that are conscious don't do it as well. I mean, I
uh
talked to Jerry Kraft, and when he talks about New Kid, he's like, I love that it does all those things. I just wanted to write a fun story that involved kids like me.
yeah, so and well, I think the number one thing that always helps with any level of reader anywhere is being funny.
Right. Right.
Uh
Absolutely.
humor is the greatest passport into anybody else's culture. If you
Yeah.
make somebody laugh, they're going to come into the house, sit down, and visit.
Right.
So by being funny, by having a funny narrator, that helps anybody get into the book, regardless of their background. And also, the very human problems of being a teenager are
Oh
pretty
yeah.
universal. Uh, and the feeling of being an outsider as a teenager is
Yeah.
completely universal, regardless that every teenager feels like a freak. So
Even the popular ones,
even
if you ever
yeah,
get to know them well
probably
enough
most
for them to.
especially the
Right.
popular ones.
Right. Right.
Uh
We those of us who aren't popular, those of us who are like the bullied ones, don't figure that out until we're in our like 30s. That,
yeah,
oh, being popular also sucked.
comes with its own set of
It
social
turns
expectations.
out that it's really just middle school and high school that suck.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when I visit high schools, that's one of the first things I ever say to them. Realize the thing we all know here, and that I'm going to say this aloud, is that high school sucks, and it
Right.
for everybody, for every
Yeah.
single person. Even those of you who are wildly successful in high school, it has you trapped right now,
Yeah.
and it might keep you trapped. Uh,
Yeah. No,
so
I actually I used to tell students when they were like surprised that like I had problems or other teachers had problems or whatnot, that adulting is hard. And then suddenly I realized that like, yeah, adulting is hard, but like I wouldn't go back to high school or middle school for all the money in the world. So I just started saying humaning is hard.
Yeah, for everybody. For
Humaning is hard.
maybe that's what you're talking about when you show when you present a character who is funny and charming and interesting and self-revealing and honest and self-critical and self-aware, and you put him in any situation, a person's going to identify with him because of his
Right,
personality. And then you
right.
start filling in the autobiographical details, the biographical. Okay, this is a res kid. Okay, I love this
Hmm.
kid. He's a res kid. I'm going to listen to him about the res. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think the fact that Junior was so open as a narrator and so honest that it allows people to come in and to start seeing themselves in him. Uh, Now, it's always been easy for me to see myself in non-native narrators.
You know,
Wildly easy.
I told or one of my good friends, and he does the Milestone Book Club with me, and has for a while, is a man named Marcus Kwame Anderson. He did the art for the Big Jim and the White Boy
Hmm.
recently, which if you
Yes,
haven't read
yes,
it,
yes.
please read it. It's so good. And he also did the art on Black Panther Party. And one of the things he told me a long time ago, I think he's even on our air during one of the Milestone episodes, was like colored people don't have any trouble writing or understanding white people. They have to. That's part of their
Yeah, but I don't
part
want
of
to
their
say,
survival is
I,
they have to under they're
but,
told what white means. They
but I
have to learn
also
what
don't
white
want
means.
to, uh, I mean,
The
yes, we
reverse
have
is
to, but
not
I also don't
necessarily
want to
true.
see it as something, uh, it's not debilitating.
Right.
I know, there's this whole idea that code switching is bad,
Right.
and it's not. It's
No,
not.
I mean it's
Uh,
necessary. I mean I can speak to that from the autism side.
yeah,
Like masking is exhausting.
yeah.
Okay. And I love situations where I don't have to mask, and I love situations where I can use easier masks or whatever. But like the idea that I would never mask
So I don't even like
for
the term mask
I don't love the term mask, but
because that
it's
presumes that I'm not being honest in
but
the
that's more of
situation.
an autism term
Yeah.
than
But I
like
understand what you mean,
yeah.
but I
And I'll take new language.
yeah, I don't know what the
That's
word
one of the
is,
things with autism is we are coming up with new language all the time because
but
we need it.
but when I'm hanging out with non-native friends, let's say let's say like I have been. Let's say, grew up in poverty on an Indian reservation, and sometimes I end up in literary penthouse parties where all these famous authors are roaming around. And also I want to be clear here that I feel just as separated from brown and black people who went to Ivy League schools or
Right.
who grew up with money. I identify far more with a poor white kid who grew up in a trailer than I do with a
Yeah,
black person who went to Harvard.
that makes sense to me.
So the idea of code switching, people I think assign it only racial values or
Right.
mostly, but there are so many things going
Oh,
on for
there.
anybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just being human.
Yeah.
And it's I love the fact that I can step into almost any room of anybody and figure out the way to be myself there, to figure
I
out the
wish I could
language,
do that.
to figure out the language.
I'm
And
pretty good at being the guy in the corner until somebody else starts talking to me. That's
and
actually one of the things I love about the podcast. Is one of the few places podcast and classrooms are among the few places that I feel like safe just to talk because I figure if you agreed to come on my podcast, you want to talk to me.
I mean, so that's great.
If
You
you're
know,
in my classroom, you're required to talk to
yes.
me.
So I love you have found those spaces to be yourself in.
Um, if I'm at a random party, I have no idea if you want to
Oh,
talk.
I'm still terrified.
Right.
I'm still shy, and 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 I still have to make myself.
Right. I'm
And
not always good at making myself.
and
I'm
and
really good at, I'll talk to you when you come talk to me.
yeah.
I won't know when to stop. So you're going to have to tell me.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one of the things that's changed over a 30-year career is
Yeah.
at the beginning at these literary parties in the early 90s, mid 90s, in terms of the race of the people at those literary parties, at the beginning of my career, it was all white people.
Right.
It was me and white people. And
Okay.
the people I looked like were the service staff. And
Yeah.
then slowly other people started coming in, like Juno Diaz. He came into a I saw him at a party and we hugged, and like we knew, we didn't have to say it. But as the years have gone on, those parties have grown more diverse, gratefully.
That's
I mean, happily. But
right.
the basic background has not changed. You're still talking about the elite.
Kate Beaton talked about this at CXC,
Uh-huh.
where I was that weekend that I decided to email you. In her talk, she talked about one of the reasons she wrote Ducks. One of the reasons that she's always looking for ways to encourage writers, cartoonists, artists in general from as many communities as she can, but specifically underprivileged communities, is that like in general, the people who can afford to make art are of a certain class. And
Yes.
therefore, that's the perspective that we get.
Yes.
Um, what I told you that my family had watched, or members of my family had watched Smoke Signals, and we discussed it last night. And one of the minor bones of contention was like, um, uh, what point of poverty should you just poverty and danger on the reservation? Should you just leave? And it's like, well, yeah, but you're leaving everything. How would at what level of what would you have to lose? What how would your life have to change for it to be so bad that you would decide to pick up and leave? Oh, I like my life. No, that's not the question. The question is not, do you like your life? The question is, how bad would it have to get before you left everything behind? You
And
know,
yeah, that question comes up a lot. And I always turn it around on people and I ask, well, what would make you leave your life right now?
right, right.
Uh, w- what if you became physically disabled? What if you lost your job? What if, you give them all these
See, I
scenarios?
wish I'd been able to come up with those examples last night, but it was later in the evening, and I was
Yeah.
even farther away from my
So
my best.
what dramatic event in your life would change?
Because that was essentially what I was trying to
Yeah.
ask.
What traumatic and or dramatic event in your life would want you to make you leave?
Right.
Uh,
Um,
and also, one of the things too is that question is often asked. Uh, I think it's sort of that Jungian shadow question. That question, because people's questions come from something inside of them that's
right.
going on, something brewing in them. Because
Hmm.
nobody's happy with their life. We're not built that way. Uh,
I tend to agree with you. At least some of
there's
the
a
people
yearning. We all have
in
yearnings.
various conversations that I have try to argue otherwise.
I mean, I'm not saying your family's not I'm not saying your family is unhappy, but
Right.
there are unresolved dreams, unrealized ambitions,
I tend to think
regrets,
so.
regrets. I mean, in small, medium, and epic sizes,
Right.
and and I would, I would ask them. So, who was your first love? How often
Right.
do you think about them?
I don't think I'd be comfortable with that one.
I
His
would
kids
ask,
are also in the.
I
I
would
know
just say,
you
who
would.
was your first love? How often do you think about them?
I've
Are
heard
you in
some of the
contact
things
with
that
them?
you asked your mom on the phone in front of audiences of people.
Yes, I have. So, and so,
I
uh,
mean, I'm accused by a lot of people of asking inappropriate questions at inappropriate times, and I think you got me beat, man.
so it comes down to a matter of people. It's not what they're seeing on the screen, it's what they're not allowing themselves to feel.
That that's really well put. Um, it's really well put. Um,
Do we really want to watch a movie about regrets and then start pondering our own regrets?
yeah, yeah. Um, let's segue a little bit into that, and I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about the book and the movie individually, but really, what fascinates me is taking a fantastic book of short stories, and really a couple of them in particular, though there's a lot of the energy bleeds. And how do you turn that into a 90-minute movie? How do you turn something that because here is the thing that was pretty much universal when we were talking about it last night is it's a movie like no other movie we can really think of where we didn't know what was coming next. It was at times heartbreaking and at times whimsical and hilarious and our uh, biggest wants are to have gotten to know like Thomas better or his grandmother better. Um I mean, I think a couple of us said, we almost wish that you'd gotten a season or more of television to just continue showing us those characters for um but what's that experience? I mean, I've gotten lucky enough to talk to a few people who've worked in the different mediums, and everybody kind of has different stories, particularly like based on whether they're adapting their own work, adapting somebody else's, or writing something unique for the mediums. What's it like to take something that was yours and make it into something else that's yours, but not the same?
Well, when you're talking about a movie and, with mainstream ambitions, you're talking about looking at a mainstream construction. And, I forget how many, but there's basically six different plot lines,
Something like that.
something like that, six or eight or something. And one of them is road trip.
Yeah,
So, and I have multiple road trip stories, but it was the Lone Ranger and Tonto, and the main road trip was when the two characters, Thomas and Victor, traveled to Arizona from Washington State to,
seven basic plots.
yeah, seven, to get
Yes,
there, the journey to get Thomas and Victor go to Phoenix from the reservation in Idaho to pick up Victor, his dead father's pickup and his ashes.
right.
And so that's the short story. It's based on a trip I did take with one of my best friends from the res. So I knew the plot line immediately. Road trip. Two Indians on a road trip. I knew
I
that for the
did
short
love the
story.
change between the short story and the movie. I thought putting them on a bus just worked so much better.
Yeah, in the story, as in real life, it was an airplane.
It was an
But
airplane. Yeah.
that's not even, I mean, that's what, 3 hours from
Yeah.
Spokane to
Yeah.
Phoenix? There's nothing
Exactly.
happens. Uh, no, had to make the trip as difficult as possible.
Right.
So in adapting it, I thought, well, no, I need to put him on a bus. Number one, because budget wise, how do you get him on an airplane at airport? All that stuff is money. So you start thinking,
Right.
what's it? A bus is a lot cheaper to film and a
Right.
lot easier to film, but also you're going to get in more adventures. You're going to
You-
add
You're
more
you're
road to
you're
the road trip.
reminding me of Robert Rodriguez talking about El Mariachi. He started writing the script. He's like, "Well, what do I have? I've got a broken down bus, I've got a small town in Mexico, and I've got a turtle. So those things are going to be in the movie.
So yeah, that was part of it. And I knew there could be stops and it would take more time. So there
Right.
would just be more moments of plot that I could
Right.
introduce other elements from other stories in the book. So I started writing the screenplay and I knew the framework was road trip, and I changed it from airplane to bus because I knew there'd be more chances for narrative.
I love it.
So it was a pretty basic switchover, and then I just had to choose which plot elements from different parts of the book were going into the story. So, so from different stories, I added some domestic violence, I added some humor, I invented things for the screenplay. Uh, so there were a lot of tangents. Road trips allow for tangents, and I
I love
think,
tangents.
and
If you
I
haven't
think,
noticed already, tangents are my thing.
yes, and I think one of the surprising things about the movie, which makes it different than most movies, is number one, there's monologues everywhere.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, monologues are frowned upon in film.
Yeah.
Uh, Films are not supposed to be about language.
But Thomas does them so well.
Yeah, and pausing for long stories
Right.
is uh, odd, and also the tangents, the fact that they'll go off into directions that reveal character but don't further the plot.
Right.
And the
And,
Bible on
and
screenwriting is everything has to further the plot.
well, and that was kind of the split in how much people like the movie. Those of us who really like movies where we get to know characters
Yeah.
liked it more than the people that are like, well, I don't know what happened. It's like, well, what happened is these guys reconnected and kind of found themselves, and and we got to see it.
And got home.
That's the plot, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean it's a very literary movie in the way,
Right.
I mean, that is really one of that really marks it as a literary film. I mean, I'm thinking about like Honora from this year's The Best Picture, which ends where you don't know what's going to happen to her. You don't have any clue any idea at all.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that her life, even though this dramatic thing has happened to her, that her life is probably not going to change whatsoever. It hasn't gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better. She's going to wake up the next day and she's going to have to start all over again in the same place. And that's how Smoke Signals ends. This
It
incredibly
does.
dramatic event, and they're going to wake up in the morning and they're back on the res,
I mean,
resuming their regular
that's
lives.
I said that it was I mean, one of the things I said last night is it's underplayed, but in the best possible way. But possibly the most important line in the movie is the Thomas telling Victor that he doesn't have to pay him back, and Victor saying, you know, yeah, what's money worth on the res anyway?
Who
You
needs money on
know,
the res?
right. Where all of this has happened, and the only thing that's really changed is Victor has a broken down truck now.
Yeah,
He doesn't have to hitchhike as much. And
yeah.
I say as much because it's a broken down truck.
So yeah, so uh you can make a movie where the character changes are very small.
Yeah.
And I think most movie audiences are trained to expect big changes.
But
Thanos gets defeated.
but at the same time, the character changes are bigger
Yeah.
too, because he gets Thomas more. And
Yes.
he's not as jealous of him and like I think he realizes that like part of what he's always felt towards Thomas is jealousy because he feels like his father has regarded Thomas better than him. But then when he realizes the why of it, and like not to spoil a 20-year-old movie, but like 25-year-old movie, something like that, that they realizes that
26 years old. Yeah.
yeah,
27,
that the
27.
reason is because
It's an
his
old
dad
movie.
has never been able to give up this guilt that like
Yeah.
he's responsible for Thomas being an orphan.
Yeah.
People look at him as oh, saved Thomas's life, but really he killed Thomas's parents because he was drunk and setting off fireworks, and he had to sit with that until he couldn't anymore. So
Yeah.
he ran away, and suddenly, so in a lot of ways, I think Victor has become a much less angry, much more understanding person in the span of about a week, and that's an amazing change.
It's and it's subtle though. And
Right.
there's no giant scene of them
Nope.
coming to terms with it. And I think
Right.
that's the desire of a mainstream audience would be to have that big scene.
I do also really love in the and I kind of wish, and if it was in the movie and I either missed it or forgot because I wound up watching the movie over a couple of different days just because I was so busy last week with this, that, and the other thing. I loved the end of the short story where it's like Thomas is like, I know we won't be friends anymore, but if just once you could stop and listen to one of my stories. And
That
Victor
that
promises the
that is
once.
not in the movie.
I loved that.
It
I
it
hope that Victor stopped more times than that, but like the acknowledgement that it could
yeah.
be baby steps.
Just listen to one story. And then but that
Yeah.
line also fits in the book more than in the movie because
Yeah.
there's more about their lives together as
Right.
and more about the way Thomas gets ignored on the res.
Right.
So
Right.
that line didn't fit in the movie because the movie didn't have that full scope of the world.
Right. Right. I do also have to say I went through a a phase in my life where I go through lots of obsessions. Like I'll learn about something and then I'll need to learn everything about it. And I think I was a freshman in high school when I learned about Leonard Peltier
Hmm.
and spent a lot of time learning about the American Indian movement and all sorts of stuff in the 70s. So I've always had a spot in my heart for John Trudell. And so I
Hmm.
really enjoyed getting to hear his voice.
As the DJ,
Yeah,
yes. John
I
Travell,
did.
the political
Uh,
activist and actor,
yep.
was in our movie playing a
A-
DJ.
And a hell of a poet. I have one of his
Yes,
spoken word
and a
albums.
performer. Yes, and one of the we've never been able or allowed or convinced anybody to make a special DVD of the movie. It's out of print now, which is they
It is available streaming, thank God. But
yes, but it's the DVD is long out of print, and
right,
but uh, when John Trudell was filming those scenes, he was having difficulty with the lines for some reason. So I'm actually laying on the floor at his feet, feeding him lines and feeding him improv. So there was a lot of stuff
that's
that got
great.
shot that is't in the film. I mean,
Oh,
I don't
that's
know where the
great.
footage is, but
Right.
yeah, so there's a DVD commentary. I was at his feet
Great.
feeding him lines.
That's great. Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I only knew him a little bit, so
right. Yeah. No, I didn't know him at all. I
yeah,
just knew his writings and his speaking and whatnot, but he's
yeah.
always been but so and that voice is just fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so now unless there's any other of your own stuff that you want to talk about, I want to shift gears into like let's talk comics because you're
Okay.
a comic guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away the spotlight. If you want to talk
Oh,
about other,
oh no, no, I'm fine.
but one of the
Well,
advantages
one,
is I
one
don't
of the
think you're
things that,
plugging a book
when I
right
read
now.
your thing, that one of the things that has happened to me though is, and I'm sure, I'm not in the comic world, fan world, I don't spend
Right,
time on Reddit or, I don't go to the
right. I
conventions
don't
or
either.
anything. So I don't know about the,
Conventions, I go to like the smaller ones and the local big one,
yeah.
and
So,
mostly just because I have so many friends in the industry now.
yeah, but yeah, I'm not in the industry and I'm not part
Right.
of the meta conversations
No,
about
I get it.
everything. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know the current zeitgeist in the comic
Right.
world.
I
Uh,
don't either because I read too much.
yeah. So, I have fallen away a bit from contemporary comics for
Okay.
two reasons. My superhero fandom has waned considerably,
I think
because
for most people it
it's
does.
become far too mainstream.
Yeah. I think a mainstream makes it harder, particularly if you wind up seeing heroes that don't feel like your heroes.
Yeah.
But I think in general, and it's why I like hate old white guy comic fans sometimes, is like everybody's Superman is their Superman. There isn't a Superman, right? The one that you fell in love with in your mind is Superman. And that doesn't mean that a different Superman that somebody else is in love with shouldn't be there.
It well, I mean, it's not just because they're white guys, it's who we all are. I
It
mean,
is, it
we're
is.
we
But the
all of
most
us,
vocal group in the comic world
but
is
that's
the old white guys.
and but that's also because the original fandom, the massive
Yes and
overwhelming
no.
fandom was white guys. The
Yes and no. I mean,
Yeah,
I know a lot of people of color that have been comics fans
but
forever, and
yeah,
I know a lot of women who have been comics fans
but when we
forever.
start talking about who was making them, who was publishing
No,
them,
exactly, exactly. So I
so
mean, uh, that
when I
when
was
I
in the
worked in a
comic book
comic
stores
shop.
in Spokane, Washington,
Oh yeah, no, no.
I was the
When I
only brown
worked in a
person.
when I worked in a comic store, that was actually what I would say to them when they started to complain about,
Yeah.
particularly if they started to complain about diversity in comics these days. I'm sitting there going, so like what you're saying is you're anti-capitalism. No, I'm not. Were you calling me a communist? I'm like, well, the best-selling books right now are written by women and people of color and whatnot. They're making business decisions. You really think that DC and Warner Brothers are woke? Get out it. Like use your brain for a second.
But and also when I get into these conversations, I remind people that actually comics were way ahead
Oh
of other
God, my
entertainment industries in their diversity.
well, and just in terms of, I mean, I really love it when get your politics out of my comics. You know when Captain America #1 was printed? It was printed in April of 1941. 8 months before Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Do you know how incredibly political in April of 1941 having somebody punch Hitler on the cover of your comic? One of the reasons we weren't in the war is Roosevelt didn't think he could get reelected if we came in on the side of the Allies,
Yeah.
and he certainly wasn't coming in on the other side.
Yeah. So and I mean Luke Cage,
Right.
Black Panther,
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch. I mean,
Though
and
it
the
took
thing,
way, way too long for Black Panther to have a black writer.
yeah, yeah, and also the I mean, certainly some of the physical depictions of female superheroes can be a little,
Become
but
interesting.
but but when you start talking about the fact that how many female superheroes were among the most powerful in the universe,
Yep. Yeah.
uh, I mean, Scarlet Witch has always been a badass.
Yep.
I mean, you can even talk
Wonder
about
Woman's always been a badass.
Squirrel Girl is a badass. I
Yeah,
mean,
I love Squirrel Girl. I
she took
love
out
that you know
Thanos.
Squirrel Girl.
She took out
Squirrel.
Thanos.
Yeah,
So
no, see, have you noticed? Squirrel Girl never fights,
yeah,
but always wins.
yes. So so I mean, I think those, but the thing is, I have empathy because we all get trapped in our fandoms at age
Absolutely.
16. All of us.
I think it's younger than that,
Yeah,
honestly. But yeah,
yeah. I mean,
there's been studies on when you ask people when the world was best, it's essentially when they were 11.
so, yeah, yeah.
Whenever they were 11 is when they think.
So then it's all of us. I mean,
Right, it
uh,
is. It totally is.
it's all of us. So, there's certainly elements of
But
racism.
the non-affluent white guys don't control as much. So I'm willing to call them out.
uh,
You don't have to, but I will.
and no, I mean, there's racism and sexism involved in some of their and a lot of their critiques, but there's
Yeah.
also just their childhood.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so there's a mix of genuine innocence and nostalgia with their jerkiness.
Absolutely. But one of the things that I've never been able to understand is like, so okay, go reread the books that you love rather than being upset about new ones.
And
Particularly in this day and age where they're all collected, they're all available digitally.
and then you really, if you want to mess with them, so you realize the original Superman was Jewish.
Right, right, right.
You realize it's a Jewish parable. You realize this, don't you?
Oh,
So
so yeah, so tell me, this is,
so that's one thing that's happened to my fandom is that I've turned away a lot from contemporary comic books simply because it doesn't mark me as an outsider anymore.
well, we could find the ones that would.
And it's not superheroes. Uh
Yeah, no, the good ones
and
aren't. I mean,
and
there's
it's
some. I mean, there's some. Tom King's run on Wonder Woman right now is amazing.
yeah, but
Kelly Thompson's killing it on Birds of
it's still
Prey.
Wonder Woman. I mean,
It is.
I'm not doubting the quality
Right.
uh at all. I'm not
No, no,
doubting
no.
the
I
power of
totally.
the art.
Right.
It's my relationship to the industry
Right.
and not to the artists themselves who are doing amazing stuff.
Right.
It's it no longer marks me as an outsider.
Yep. Well, I mean, again, that just means we need to get you to like the zine cons.
And yeah,
There's some great ones in Seattle.
yes, no, which so I've become far more into the independent scene,
Okay.
graphic novels,
Graphic novels are, see, to me, they're all comics.
yeah,
I view superheroes are a genre of comics, but to me, it's all, I mean, like, if you go through our book clubs, we have a comic strip book club, we have a milestone book club, we have a Love and Rockets book club that meets almost weekly. We've
there you
been
go.
going through issue by issue.
Yeah,
um, yeah, I think Milestone's the only, well, no, we currently have a Kirby book club. We've been going through his Fourth World stuff.
oh, there you go. Okay,
Um,
so I'm when it comes to comics, I guess you could say I'm like the guy who had never stopped listening to Blue Oyster Cult.
okay.
I'm
You want more cowbell with that?
so I'm very much a classicist
Okay.
in terms of comic books. I'm
So
still
what'd you grow up on? What'd you love?
Daredevil.
Oh, I love you. I love you. And also, Daredevil hasn't had a bad issue since before Smoke Signals came out.
Yeah, Daredevil.
I Daredevil is the one superhero comic that I still get every month. I can't not. And
So,
I'm not even certain that I think Frank Miller's run is the best anymore.
you're talking bold.
And don't get me wrong, I fell in love with Daredevil because of Frank
Yeah,
Miller's run.
yeah,
I collected it in single issues before it was available in trade. I
yeah.
was going, like, every vacation I went on, I would go to every comic shop I could find just to collect
Yeah.
single issues. And this is like in the like pre-internet, so I didn't even know when it started and finished. So I was just like, I know that all of my Miller stuff is in here. I just got to keep buying around there, and because it seemed wrong to open them in the store.
So I can tell you a Hollywood Daredevil story.
Sure.
Okay, I am such a huge fan that when they were beginning to think about making superhero movies before anybody wanted to make them,
Right.
they were working on
I mean, they
Daredevil.
wanted to make them a long time ago. They just hadn't figured out how.
Nobody was interested.
Right.
uh, nobody in power wanted to make them. So I uh, I heard they were trying to make Daredevil. So I'm not, at best I've been a C plus screenwriter in Hollywood. So I went in, I got meetings, I have a big time manager, so she's able to get me meetings that I wouldn't get otherwise. And
Right.
I went and fought for that to write it. I fought for it. I fought for it. And what my vision of it ended up being hewing very closely to its film noir feeling, like which the
Right.
TV series, with Charlie
Right.
Cox is very much done,
Which is great.
which is great. Uh,
Yeah.
they very much went that way, dark, and so that was my vision of it, was very dark. And so after fighting with all these A screenwriters who won it, they call me up one day in Seattle and they say, Sherman, it's you. You're gonna write it. We have a studio jet at Boeing Field right now. They were scouting locations. Go get on it. Get down here. We'll celebrate. So I went to Boeing Field, got on the private jet to LA, landed at Santa Monica Airport. Uh, a car picked me up, took me to the studio, Sony. I went into the waiting room where I'd been, I don't know, 10 times fighting for the job. And I'm sitting there 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. And I'm going, what's going on? And then finally, after over an hour, an assistant came out and sat down and she took my hands. She was a very kind, incredibly kind person. I'll just say her first name, Lisa. I'm 26 years later, I still remember her vividly, her kindness.
Right.
And she took my hands and she goes, Sherman, they hired somebody else. And I'm
Oh,
thinking, wait, what? How? In the time at which I got on the jet in Seattle and
the
arrived at the
private jet that you told me to get
it was the
on.
studio's jet. By the time I got to what had happened is the executive was meeting with Mark Steven Johnson, whatever his name is, who ended up writing
Right.
and directing the Ben Affleck Daredevil, which is what it
Right.
became. You know, uh, he was in there pitching other movies, his own projects, and the executive said, "Well, we'll buy this one. Is there anything on our slate that you want to do?" And he said, "Daredevil." So they hired him on the spot. And so by the time I got to the studio, I'd been replaced. And the joke is I've been replaced by the guy who wrote and directed Grumpy Old Men, which is
Right.
true, but it's not necessarily fair, but it's true. And I like Grumpy Old Men, but
Yeah,
so
Grumpy Old Men is actually better than
then Daredevil.
the yeah. Well, and I'm going to ask you a question because you probably are I'm assuming you watched it anyway because if you're a Daredevil guy, I assume that you managed to go, well, I got to see this movie that somebody else got to make. Um,
It took me a while.
I believe that too.
I didn't see it in the theaters. So
Yeah.
so so they told me,
S-
they hired somebody else, and then they said, but you can still stay at the hotel. And I said, no, no. So I flew down on the studio's jet. I came back on Southwest Airlines in a middle seat. Hollywood.
So I gotta ask because I am betting that, and really they should have like at least worked something out to have you as a script doctor because there is like one major problem with that movie, bigger than any other problem with that movie.
And what is it?
At well, I'm gonna give you. I want you to guess, but I will give you a hint in
I have
that.
so many problems with it, I probably won't be able to pick it out.
Well, that's why I'm gonna give you a major hint. I wanted there to be a sequel because it ended with Matthew Murdock in the right place. It just didn't start there.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember the movie. Really, it's been
Like,
it's been 20 years since I've seen it.
and that's good. I've watched it too many times, and I was so glad when the TV series came out because I stopped watching it
Where did he
ever.
end up in?
Well, no, what he ended up with is actually believing in justice.
Yeah.
Whereas early in the movie, I mean, aside from the fact that the court scene made no sense because he was acting like a prosecutor and he's not. He was the prosecutor for the victim, and that like it made no sense whatsoever. But when the guy got off, there's that whole I'll get justice. And then he went and beat him up. And it's like, no, no, no. Matthew Murdoch's father drove into him a sense of not just morality, but belief in the system.
Yeah.
and whatnot. The idea that he would go beat up a guy who'd been found innocent is completely antithetical to the character.
It it's it they put too much Batman in that Daredevil.
Right. But when it got to the end of the movie and he's got the opportunity to kill Kingpin
Yeah.
and chooses not to, that is Matthew Murdock.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't have minded seeing a sequel because I felt like it could have started, but I also knew walking out of the theater that there was never going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
shocked that there was an Electro movie.
well, there was a
And
Lecter
that
movie
one
because
I've never
Alias,
seen.
because of the Alias, and because
Yeah.
of the Jennifer Garner who was amazing. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
well, just to say I'm very happy for the Netflix series
Yeah.
and for the
And the current Disney
and
Plus
the current
series.
series. I'm
Yeah.
extremely happy that they have honored the real Daredevil. And
Yeah.
I just think it's even back then I didn't think Ben Affleck cared about that world. And I think
But actually, just I saw him do a few interviews beforehand
yeah.
where it was also clear that he was a Daredevil fan. So I've always kind of wondered if like his not caring had as much to do with a bad script as
Oh no, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
right.
I didn't mean
Yeah.
his no, he's an incredibly smart guy and an
Right.
incredibly passionate guy. I just meant that he did not believe in what was happening.
And how could you? Because it
Yeah.
was
And I think that was replicated with the Zack Snyder stuff. I think he
it
stopped
did. It
believing.
did. I will defend Zack Snyder's Watchmen more than most people do.
Uh-huh.
And I loved his 300. I think he blew it in the DC universe.
Yeah. I well, he became a series of ticks rather than a filmmaker.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't like his Superman at all.
Oh
I know a
no.
lot of people did, but it had the same problem. Like it wasn't Clark Kent.
Yeah, there's there's a way of honoring the history of a character while making them your vision, but then
Right.
there's also a way to divorce your vision from the history. And I think
Right.
Snyder divorced.
Completely,
Yeah.
completely divorced from the history.
I'm looking forward for the first time in a while. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
the new Superman.
I am really looking forward to the new Supergirl
Yeah. Oh,
because the
yes.
source material is amazing.
So yes. I'm kind of, I mean, uh, that reveal of who's going to be in the new Avengers movie sort of replicated how I feel about the whole process. Oh
I
my God. Oh my
I
God.
don't even. Oh,
Five
that's right. Is it
hours?
right?
5 hours of director's chairs? Oh my
Right.
God. I thought, is
Yeah.
anybody liking this?
No, and this is why like I tell my students that I host a comic book podcast and they ask me about like the newest movie and I'm like, I said comic book.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen that one.
Yeah. So,
I long ago reached a point where like I need to hear people that I trust call it a good movie before I spend any
so,
energy.
so, yeah. So that's just to say all these stuff is in my head when I think about superhero books. But in terms of
Yeah.
alternative comic books, I love the diversity. I love, I'm, and I've loved, and I think True Diary, my book True Diary, sort of ushered in, helped usher in. There were others. This sort of young adult graphic
Yeah.
novel combining words and
Oh yeah.
images, and I
Well,
think about,
and more just flat out graphic novels.
yeah, for teens, and I
Yeah.
think the success of True Diary helped,
Yeah.
and had people looking for that kind of book more. So I'm,
Well, and then when librarians jumped on as well.
yeah,
Librarians and then colleges decided that comics aren't just low art. If we could only convince more high schools and like elementary middle schools that they're still that their literacy, they're not the thing to reward kids. Oh, you read your chapter book, now you can read your comic.
Yeah, yeah. And I think yes, and one of the great things that happens with True Diary is because it combines word and image, is that it's been very useful for
Yeah.
English as a second language classes.
Yep.
It's been
Yep.
incredibly useful for reluctant readers, especially
Yep.
boys. That
Yep.
that reluctant teen reader boys can get into True Diary because those images give them a passport into the words.
Yes.
So,
Yes. I mean, that's the nature of comics to begin with. Comics also have many other great
oh
things,
yeah,
but my whole podcast is about that, so I'm not going to bore you with that.
yeah. I mean, I learned to read
Yeah, you're
uh,
not the only
on a
one.
Superman comic book.
Yeah, do you remember which one?
It was a dupe. It was a duplicate of number one.
Oh, wow. So Action Comics number one,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
it
a good book.
yeah. So and I've written about this, but the even it what helped me learn how to read is the very construction of comics.
Yeah.
Uh, that I knew the image showed something in what I could see happening, so I
Hmm.
knew that the box uh was a description of what was happening. I knew the words in the word box were them
Hmm.
saying about what was happening.
Right.
So the very construction of a comic enabled me to guess at what the words meant.
Yeah, no, my friend and the head of a group called Psychocomicology that uses comics to in their actual psychology practice
Yeah,
and joins me for book clubs. Dr. Edgar Ramos likes to talk about how he learned English from Captain America comics.
there you go. There you go.
You
Exactly.
know, and now he's a incredibly successful psychiatrist. But
So
like
yeah, so
early
I'm
on, it was like he was treated like he didn't learn English fast. He had an interesting journey that involved going through Captain America comics, which is why the biggest reason that he's a huge Captain America fan is that he associates them with learning to read. So tell me some of your
oh my
favorite
gosh,
alternatives. You say
I'm
you're doing
looking in
lots
my
of graphic
lists
novels
here.
now. What do you like?
Uh I mean,
I mean, again, you have shown enough knowledge of more obscure stuff that I know that you've got more than just a superhero history.
oh man. I mean, what have I been? I have a pile over here. Hold on.
That works. I'm used to that. We're waiting for Sherman's pile. He'll be here in a second. Probably should hit pause, but
Okay.
that's not as fun. We'll count it down.
Yes,
He's back.
I'm back. Sherman went looking for his pile. I should
Yeah.
have been yelling. So, uh, these are the ones I just bought.
Okay.
So this is where my head is at right now.
Do you have a
The
favorite place to buy your graphic novels? You want to shout out to somebody?
My favorite place in Seattle is the University Bookstore, and then the comic book store over in Factoria, whose name is out of my head. And I think they're closed now, actually. He was retiring and he was
Okay.
looking for somebody to sell to, but
Okay.
I haven't been over there in a while. So The
All
Wicked
right.
and the Divine,
So good.
and I just started.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
Kieran
uh
Gillen wrote a book called Die that's
uh
about a role-playing universe that not only did we go through trade by trade for our weekly episode, but we enjoyed it so much that we now play. He wrote a role-playing game along with the book, and so
oh
we
wow.
now play the game monthly for an episode.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, well, if you're a role-playing guy,
Oh, I am. I'm a
okay, well, write me because my DM is pretty certain that with a little bit of with like a week or so lead time, he can work characters in and out. So if you ever want to hang out and play die with us, we'd love it.
and uh okay. I'm a D&D dude. So
Okay.
I mean,
I get that. I'm going to be playing D&D with family later tonight.
okay, yes. So, I mean, and I mean, some of my favorite graphic novels of recent times was Katie Beaton's uh the mining the
Ducks.
ducks,
Yeah, we talked
which
about that recently. Ducks.
yes,
Or we talked
which
about that earlier. Yeah.
yeah, which
I
so
got
those
to
sort of
entertain her daughter while she received an award at CXC too.
okay.
Because she didn't know
So
she was going to win the award, and her daughter was tired, and we just happened to be standing on the stairs next to each other when she got called down.
oh, that's
And
fun.
then the phone locked, so she had to call out the password for me to unlock it.
So yeah, so that's sort of uh the place in the world graphic novels that have really sort of the literary ones, the real world graphic novels.
Right.
So I've turned more away from superheroes and fantasy and sci-fi, and I've moved more into the trying to think of a better description than what I'm saying. The well,
Autobio.
yeah,
There's
autobiographical.
lots of autobiographical comics. What
Yeah,
one of the things that I love about comics is I think more than any other medium, they get autobiographic or autobiographies of otherwise um I don't want to say uninteresting people, but like most of your prose autobiographies, they're people that were famous for other things, and therefore they got to write an autobiography.
yeah,
In comics, it's like I'm just gonna draw my autobiography.
and it works. Yeah. So
Exactly. Uh,
and oh, but I
I mean,
also, I mean,
I'm blown away by the number of people who don't know what the Bechtel test that know what the Bechtel test is,
without
but
knowing
don't
where it comes
know,
from.
right, but
Yeah.
don't know that it comes from a cartoonist.
Yes. I mean, she's the big story of the way in which a a comic book writer ends up being so damn universal, which is
Right,
awesome.
right.
Uh, but I'm also remembering I'm into crime and horror
Okay.
comics, and I'm
Oh,
blanking on her
comics
name.
are
I
the
just
only medium that I can do horror in
uh oh
because
gosh,
I get to decide how much time I spend with the parts that make me uncomfortable.
I am blanking on her. Is it Faust? It's just depraved. It's awesome.
Uh, is it Christina Faust?
And she also writes fiction.
Yeah, I think Christina Faust.
Christina Faust, is that right? I'm looking for her. But she's got this revenge one that I love.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Or maybe it's Krista Faust.
And and then I read one of her novels, which is amazing. So I ordered, yeah, I read Chokehold, which is an amazing novel that
Okay.
kind of lives in the world she's in. Oh, Bad Mother, Bad
Bad
Mother,
Mother. Yes,
Bad
Bad Mother.
Mother.
Yeah. Bad
Wh-
Mother. AWA has been killing it with stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
and for those of you who
Hit
don't
Me.
know it, it's
Have
about
you read
a
Hit Me?
oh yeah,
Her other book? Oh,
a mom
that
getting,
one's
for those of you who don't
brutal.
know it, I mean, it's a mom getting absolute revenge on
Right. Bad
criminals.
Mother is but
Yes,
then Hit Me is the what? The masochist or not
yes,
the dominatrix.
the dominatrix,
Ugh.
uh, Batman vigilante like figure.
Right, right.
Yes. So taking the Frank Miller Sin City
Yep.
world and going 3 steps farther.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
AWA does a lot of good books.
so yeah, so I should say Krista Faust is
Krista
my
Faust.
latest obsession in the comics world.
Okay. Okay. I am equally a fan of hers. Actually, though, not quite as horror, but um, did you read Red Light?
Red
Also
light,
from
no,
AWA, Sarah Cho. It's
I
got a
don't
lot
know.
of the same like energy. It's about
Oh wow.
Are you seeing it now?
Yeah, wow, yes, no, that's right up my alley.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just the basic description there makes it sounds like a souped up version of Spielberg's AI.
Yep. Yep. And she recently did a one shot called Cam Girl that was
Uh-huh.
also really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm realizing as we were talking about, or in some ways I've sought to become I'm looking for comics out of the mainstream, like
Yeah.
Ducks is mainstream. I mean, Ducks had lots of
I
success.
mean, I mean, it is and it isn't.
Yeah. So I've been looking for the kind of books like Krista Faust creates and apparently like uh
Zero Show.
Sarah Chow makes. I've been looking for those kind of books that feel darkish or pure on
Darkish.
dark
Right.
to uh books that Marvel will that books that Warner Brothers would never make into a movie.
At least not right now.
Right.
There was a
A24 might.
time. Right. Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So so that
They're
yeah,
out
and
there.
then a little bit of the surreal stuff uh like
What else do you
The
have in your
Wicked and the
stack here?
Divine is very
Wicked and Divine. Yeah.
sort
No,
of
that's a I mean Kieran Gillen and why am I drawing a blank on his artist on that one? Because they work
uh
together a ton.
McKelvey Wilson Cole.
Yeah.
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 And
Kieran Gillen and Jamie McElvey have done a lot of stuff together through the years.
yeah, well
And
yeah, they get
they
heavy
did
philosophical stuff.
Phonograph and they did actually they did a run on Young Avengers that's
Oh,
considered like the gold
yeah,
standard of
I
that.
don't know that one.
Yeah,
So
no, I didn't know it until after I started reading Wicked and Divine.
so,
Uh,
I'm sort of into the unfilmable.
yeah. Well, see, that's I not only like the unfilmable, I particularly like when they like uh Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples who do Saga. I don't know if you've read
Oh God, yeah. So I mean, Saga is
I
like,
figured. I
yeah, no,
figured.
Saga's like, hey, you know Shakespeare, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you said that you weren't doing sci-fi anymore,
No,
so maybe.
I mean,
But they famously
Saga's
said that
so great that some of my friends who don't read comics read
oh,
Saga.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Lots of I mean, Saga is near the top of that type of list. But
yeah.
they famously said that like they were intent on trying to make a comic that couldn't be a movie. And they take meetings, but they've yet to have anybody who's come anywhere close to convincing them that it could make it something worth signing the rights over for.
Yeah,
Um,
that's. I mean, I thought I've never even heard of it being optioned.
no, it hasn't been because they
Has
take the
anybody even
meetings,
tried?
but nobody. I mean, oh, people want it
No, but I
because
mean, has a word ever been written on a screenplay?
yeah, who knows?
What else do I read? Well, I'm a total Serenity dork, so I read every comic book that exists
The
in
Firefly
that world, in the
universe.
Firefly
Yeah,
world. So,
yeah,
regardless of the quality,
yeah, yeah.
that which ranges dramatically.
Yeah, it does. It does, which is why I don't read everyone anymore.
Yeah,
Um, though I did get, and this is how having a podcast and becoming friends with people like changes your fandom. I had always been the Star Wars kid, not much of a Star Trek guy, and then
yeah.
one of my best friends started writing a Star Trek book and was over the moon because he was writing a Star Trek book. So not only have I read that entire Star Trek, the current Star Trek universe run in
Yeah.
comics, but it's like, oh, I want to know more about this character. So I watched all of Deep Space Nine. Oh, I want to know more about this character. So I watched all of Voyager.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't even finished all of Next Generation yet. That was
So
like the third series that I started watching because of the last 2.5 years of Star Trek comics.
so well, you got a lot to watch. That's good. So
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, the comics are fun for that. Comics are
yeah,
fun for so many things. Have you read My Favorite Thing is Monsters? That's another
I've
Another
seen it all the
book.
time.
Yeah,
I've
that's
never bought
another
it.
book that people who don't like comics love.
Okay.
Uh,
I've seen it on the recommended shelves every time I go into
all right.
stores.
If you haven't read it, then I recently had Emil Ferris on, so you can go back and listen to us talk if you want. But it
Okay.
means I get to give my actual like comic shop pitch for the first time in a while because I haven't worked in a comic shop in a while. My favorite thing is Monsters is a coming of age tale set against the backdrop of uptown Chicago in 1968, which was one of the first truly mixed neighborhoods. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got people of all shapes and sizes told from the perspective of a 10-year-old in her journal. So it's literally like her drawings on notebook paper
Oh my gosh.
in ballpoint pen, beautifully cross-hatched, like nothing you've seen before. She's precocious, but at the same time, you never lose sight of the fact that it's a 10-year-old telling you this story. Um, but it's also a murder mystery because her upstairs neighbor got killed at the beginning, and she decides that she wants to solve it, and she pictures herself as a werewolf when she draws herself, and uh, she's got a trench coat and a hat that she puts on when she's being a detective, and the neighbor was a Holocaust survivor, and she gets to listen to all of the tapes from an interview of this, so you get all of that stuff
Oh my
too,
gosh.
and it's it's
Okay.
messy in all of the best possible ways.
You've sold me.
And it's just 800 pages now of just almost 900 pages, I think, because it's two volumes, big, thick phone books from Fantagraphics. You're in Seattle, you'll have absolutely no trouble putting your hands on it.
Yeah, but there was at one point I was maybe going to work on something with them
Yeah, yeah.
years ago.
You
So,
know, you still have time.
and actually at one point I was gonna uh perhaps do a run on Daredevil years ago and didn't. So,
Again, you still have time. um, yeah. So,
and uh I no, I mean I could tell you other stories about I mean I worked on a few screenplays for Marvel treatments before they wanted to make them, before
okay,
studios when they were trying to get them made. So
right.
I worked on treatments for Iron Man, Doctor Strange. Uh, I had turned the shot. I had turned the I'm blanking uh, the original villain, played by Tilda Swinton. I'm blanking. From the original comics, it was a man. But anyway, I turned the
Um,
villain. The villain in my movie of Doctor Strange was a Navajo shaman.
okay,
Uh, and it ends up being Doctor Strange and the shaman fighting in the streets of New York was the final battle in the third act.
okay, okay.
I
I
wrote a
can see
treatment
that.
for I wrote a treatment for Galactus, the appearance of Galactus,
Which
and
we
I had
haven't
him.
really seen yet.
The beginning of the thing was him. You see him because the thing was, how do you
So
portray
he
him
played
back
the
then?
ancient one. How could we forget the ancient one?
How do you portray him though? Back then, it was 20 some years ago. How do you
Oh
portray
yeah.
him with the technology they had back then, the CGI? So what I
Not well.
so what I had come down to was I had him where you see him, and it's sort of like a Star Wars beginning where you see him this massive
Oh,
intergalactic
nice.
presence floating like the beginning of Star Wars. This is how I pitched it. At
Yeah.
the beginning of Star Wars, you really come upon this thing and you don't know what you're seeing
Right.
until you keep moving and moving and panning with the camera, and then you realize, oh shit, this is a humanoid figure that's bigger than planets, and you're
That would work.
and then you see him eat a planet and
Okay.
like
So
literally swallow a planet and then
I
and then
hope they're smart enough to do something like that when because that I think would work so much better than so many of the things that they can do with
yeah
modern CGI
and and
that
then
I
and then I
hope.
brought him down, then he comes to Earth, but yeah, I shrink him down to where then he
And
comes
Squirrel
to
Girl
Earth,
becomes his friend.
and then yes, so I took him from you know, planet sized down to human sized.
Okay.
That was the prologue.
That's cool. That's cool.
So, but that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blown away at how many people have the things that sound amazing that didn't get done. I mean, one of my favorite comics that I've ever read, a friend of mine slipped me the PDF before it got announced, and then it wound up not getting announced. Never got finished.
Oh my
I've read
gosh.
issue one. I've read issue one. I love it. Like the art, I mean, they paid for the art. The issue one got done, but never announced, never published, never finished. And it's like, how does this happen? That just feels wrong.
Oh, I mean, now you got me really thinking. I also tried to get a movie made of uh Timothy Truman has a comic called Scout.
Okay.
The basic pitch line is
I
Ma-
haven't read all of Scout, but I've read
Mad Max,
Grimjack.
Mad Max, except he's
Right.
Indian.
Right.
That was the
Okay.
pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I tried to get that made, and that never happened. I don't even know if is Timothy still around. I haven't heard of him
I
in a
don't
long
know.
time.
I haven't seen his name on anything new in a while. I read like I said, I read Grimjack years after
Yeah,
it came
yeah.
out. He still has a website.
I am going to try to contact him. See,
Yeah.
look what your podcast just did.
Hey. Well, if you go, it's got Scout Marauder right
Oh my
on
gosh, he's kickstarting. Oh my
is
gosh.
he?
He Scout Marauder, he was kickstarting it. Did it happen? Yeah, he met his goal.
Hey.
Lancaster, PA. I am going to
Well, see, there we go.
I'm going to contact Timothy
There
and
you
say,
go.
hey, I was just talking about you on a podcast and I'm wondering what you're up to.
Hey, if you want, you can tell him that I'll have him on and you can come interview him. I
Oh
I love
man.
it.
Oh
I
my
love it
gosh.
when I mean I just and this is even a Pacific Northwest connection. Like another non-comics guy, but I knew a little bit better how to talk to him because A, he's a baseball guy and one of my favorite baseball writers. And B, I at least knew he was a big comics fan and specifically of one of my favorite comics writers
Uh-huh.
because that's how it all came together.
Yeah.
Rob Nyer, who used to be Bill James's assistant and used to be a guy on ESPN and is now actually the commissioner of the West Coast League, which is
Uh-huh.
a summer collegiate wood bat league up
Yeah.
there, tweeted that about Mark Russell's recent Ahoy comic book, recent back then, where he dealt with a stadium issue in a oh God, why am I forgetting the name of that comic right now? Again, end of the year or end of the day type things. Um, but anyway, he's like one of my favorite comic writers wrote about stadium issues. This is crazy. Wrong
Yeah.
Earth was the name of the comic.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
and, and I immediately went, oh wow, one of my favorite comic writer or one of my favorite baseball writers is a fan of one of my favorite comic writers. I don't suppose you'd want to come on a podcast. And like 30 seconds later, Mark Russell chimes in to say, yeah, Tad and I talked baseball for like 15 minutes when I was on last week. And the next thing I knew, I had Rob Nyer on my podcast. And then the next time I had Mark Russell on, I had Rob come to co-host.
Oh wow. So yeah, I'm emailing Tim right now.
So there you go. If you set this up, I'll be amazingly happy. You can co-host anytime you want.
Yeah. So
Um,
yes.
so, I mean, this is something that I love about the comics community is like somehow as a podcast host, I'm treated as a member of the community. I'm not just a fan. I'm
Yeah.
like they I got I get text messages from people that like 3 years ago were big crazy
Well, I mean,
untouchable people to me. Does that make sense?
oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's
Right.
because I mean, every writer at heart is the child that they were when they fell in love with their medium. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
even at our most cynical, there's still a
Yeah.
childlike wonder. And to have somebody else share that childlike wonder of something we've created.
Though I think in comics it's one step further, which is that comics nuts, and I mean like comics nuts, not pop
Yeah,
culture nuts,
yeah,
because you talked about how it's become mainstream, and it
yeah,
has and it hasn't.
yeah,
Lots of people can talk to you about Daredevil now. They
yeah.
can't talk to you about the Daredevil comic.
There you go. That's a
Not many of
great,
them know that Daredevil has recently actually been a priest,
yeah, that's a great distinction.
right? Um, and that's also true of comics people. They don't
Hmm.
have people to geek out on comics with.
Yeah.
Tom King is one of the most famous comic writers around right now. And one of the things that I heard him say once was, I was out at the park with my kids and somebody recognized me. And I'm like, can you go home with me? Because my in laws don't believe I'm famous. He's like, I'm comic book famous. If I walk into a convention, everybody knows who I am.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
anywhere else, I'm just a bald guy on the street.
yeah. I'm thinking about the comic cons of various kinds.
Right,
I look at who's going to be there, and I'm like, oh, cool. I don't go
right.
to them, but oh, cool. But I think,
But I mean, even those at this point, like Artist Alley, like when you go to Artist Alley is when you know you're with the actual comics people
yeah,
because there's so many people that are there for the various sort or cosplay stuff or
yeah,
whatever, and like C2E2's coming up in Chicago, and
hmm,
like there's a Breakfast Club reunion, and there's I forget what the other big, and there are going
yeah,
to be a ton of people there to go get their picture with Molly Ringwald or
yeah,
with. But Tom King's going to be there, and it's only going to be the comics people that go see Tom King. Eddie
yeah,
Campbell will be there, and it's only the comics people that'll go talk to Eddie Campbell.
yeah.
You
So
know,
the
where
world
it gets
inside the
difficult
world.
is when Chris Evans' line is so long that it blocks your table.
Yeah.
That happened to a friend of mine a couple of years ago.
Oh, oh.
Nobody could get to her table for like 2 hours because Chris Evans' line just kind of
I've
blocked it off.
That's happened to me, and I've done that to people.
Right.
I've been on both sides of that.
Yeah. Um,
Don't sign next to Stephen King.
uh, actually, the last time I talked to Dennis, he was talking about, um, and you brought him up earlier. He was talking about a signing he did with R. Crumb and a particularly popular comic book artist at the time. It was mid 90s. We're not going to name names, but was next to him. So that
Uh-huh.
guy had this massive, huge line, which really only mattered because it made Crumb feel that much more anxious.
Yeah,
Crumb doesn't like being at that sort of thing to begin with, but like now instead of just having the number of people that are in the Crumb line, he's got to look at like the 5,000 people in the other person's line
yeah,
at the next table. And like he was supposed to sign for a couple hours, and Dennis is like he made it like 45 minutes, an hour, or something like
yeah,
that. And like the person who was going to be the first person who didn't get anything signed is like, man, I drove all the way from blah blah blah. I love your stuff. Please, just one more. And like he scribbled really fast, and before the next guy even started making his case, he was way gone.
gone. So
because different people can handle, I
yeah.
mean, I'm an introvert. I've got sensory issues. Like the first thing when I go to the bigger cons at all, the first thing I do is figure out where all of my friends are
Hmm.
because I can shut off the world much better when I'm talking to somebody that I can actually like talk
Yeah.
to. And I also figure out what's the lay of the floor? Where are the places where there's likely to be the least people? If I need to just, which direction do I
Got your
go?
escape routes. Yeah.
Sherman, it has been fun. I'm going to ask you my favorite closing question, and I'm
Okay.
going to cross my fingers that we get to do this again because it's been fun. Um, I like to ask everybody, tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but whatever. Preferably storytelling, but again, whatever. But something that you love that not enough other people have experienced, and you need them to because you want more people to talk with about it.
I would love Krista Faust. I would love her stuff to be made into movies so that she got rich and could continue to make her crazy ass shit.
That's a good answer. I like that. I'm all that is we don't believe in sellouts on 22 panels. We believe in artists that are getting paid.
Yeah, I don't want her. I want her to kind of have the. I want her to have the kind of career where she gets to pay her mortgage and feed herself, but not compromise anything.
Well, that is always ideal, but
Yes.
what I really meant was I will never ever call somebody a sellout because I don't like the thing that made them money.
Oh God. Yeah. No. I mean, we all need to eat.
Right. The way I look at it is like if my artists get paid, that means they make more art.
There you go. Exactly.
So, Sherman, it has been a joy. I hope that we can stay in touch. Stick around for a minute or two after I stop recording, and we'll talk just a bit. Then I'll let you go because I also need to go, and my wife's expecting to see me home, that sort of thing. D&D game.
Yeah.
I'm from an office at school. I
Uh,
thank I thank our
there's a
our
globe.
speech
I assumed you were
therapist.
in at school.
Yeah, I thank our speech therapist for being willing to lend me her office on days that I am recording right after school ends. Again, Sherman, it's been a pleasure. And for 22 panels, we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.